Hey guys, I hope y'all are having a great day today. So we're going to be talking all about bronzers, and I'm going to be ranking all of the bronzers in my collection. So we're going to be talking about 17 of them. I did not realize I had that many bronzers, but I'm just going to tell y'all why I put them in a certain order. I do have some things in my collection that are not meant to be bronzers, but that's what I use them for. So I did not include them in this list. I'm including just the products that are marketed as bronzers. So that is what we're going to get into today. So before we get started, if you're here for the first time, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. My name is SonyaNicole and I do makeup videos here, including some stuff for us 40 and over makeup lovers. So if that sounds interesting to you, please make sure you subscribe while you're here today. I would really appreciate your support, and of course I would love to have you join the channel. Okay y'all, let's jump right into it. Okay, so since we have 17 to go through, I'm going to jump right into it, and coming in at dead last, because I don't care what anybody says, this is a contour, not a bronzer. I think I'm one of the only people who doesn't like this product though, but my last place bronzer is the e.l.f. Putty bronzer. Now I do have this one in the shade Bronze Belle, and I kept meaning to try it in another shade, but I just kept forgetting to order it. But this particular shade, Bronze Belle, looking at it in the pan, this one should work for me. It should kind of show up on my face and it should be dark enough to bronze. But what I don't like about this is, number one, it's supposed to be a cream consistency. To me, this isn't creamy enough. It's like, it's too thin. And just with me trying to like swatch it, like that swatch to me should be just a lot more pigmented based on the number of times I kind of like swirl my finger in here. But maybe you can't really tell on my hand, but when I put this on my face, it looks just like a contour. Like it doesn't give me any warmth whatsoever. So that's why I put this one dead last, because like I said, for me, this is a contour. It doesn't warm up my skin at all. If anything, it just makes my skin look gray. So that's why I put this one in last place. And then the next one is pretty much the same thing. This one is the ABH cream bronzer, and this one is in the shade Hazelnut. So I was really excited about this because when you look at this one in the pan compared to the last one that we just looked at, they do look kind of similar, but this one looks like it has a little bit more warmth to it. I really like the way that this one's swatched. This one, it has much more of a creamy consistency compared to e.l.f. So you see how much more pigmented that is, and I'm sure you can see how much darker it is. I think on my hand, it also looks like a contour. I honestly can't remember what I felt about the swatch the first time I tried this, but right now on my hand, it's looking like a contour with just like a little hint of like a reddish undertone to it. But unfortunately, when I tried this one, I didn't see any warmth in my face. I just saw like gray, like a contour. So that's why I put the e.l.f. and the ABH ones on the bottom of my list, because both of these, they just, to me, they just look like contours. They don't look like bronzers at all. So I feel like the rest of the bronzers that we're going to be talking about today, some of them, there are things that I don't like about them, but I would say that they all kind of operate more as bronzers as opposed to contours. So I think that we got like the two worst performing ones out of the way. So the next one we're going to talk about is the Milk Makeup. This is called the Matte Bronzing Stick, and I have the shade, this one is in the shade Baked. So I never use this one because of the shade. I think it does come in a darker shade, and that's the one that I probably need. So I never really use this one, but thankfully I got the mini because I wanted to test out the color of it. I feel like even though I can't really use this as a bronzer, you can barely see it on my hand, which is why I can't use it. But I feel like this one does look like it has some warmth to it. So someone who is a lighter skin tone could probably wear this one as a bronzer. The reason I put this one kind of like toward the bottom of the list is because it claims to be a matte finish, but I don't feel like it's a matte finish at all. Like, to me, it's more of a natural, almost like a luminous finish, like a little bit of dew to it. Like, it just never sets down to a matte finish. And I just love matte bronzers. Like, I have a couple of bronzers that have like a little bit of sheen to them, so they give you just like a little bit of extra glow. But I definitely don't like bronzers that leave like the areas of my face where I put the bronzers. I don't want those areas to look like kind of like wet and dewy, and I feel like this is what this one looks like. Like it never like fully sets down to a matte finish. So that's why I put that one toward the bottom of the list. So that one would be coming in at number 15, right? Yeah, that one is number 15. Okay, next up we have, I'm going kind of fast because we have a lot to get through. So the next one is the Becca Sunlit bronzer in the shade Maui Nights. This was actually my very first bronzer, and as you can see, it is very red, and I did used to use this one a lot. I love the fact that it was red because red bronzers, they just look a lot better on me as opposed to like yellowish golden bronzers. So I did used to use this one a lot, but then when I started finding like other bronzers that were much more of like a brown tone with like maybe a reddish undertone to it, I just stopped using this one. This one is a good example of a matte bronzer that has just like a little bit of sheen to it, but you guys can see how red this one is. So the reason I put it at number 14 is because it's so red that I feel like this one is more of like a blush, not necessarily a bronzer. It would look more like a bronzer on a much deeper skin tone, but I feel like even on a deeper skin tone, it's more of like a blush, not necessarily a bronzer because it's so red. This, I believe, came in, I want to say 6 or 8 shades, and they did have other shades that were more brown to it, but specifically the shade Maui Nights, to me this is more like a blush, not a bronzer. I'm gonna have the numbers up on the screen because I know I'm gonna lose count, but I think we're at number 13. So this one is the Revolution Glow Splendour Ultra Matte Bronzer. This one is in the shade Light, and I feel like for this one to be called light, it's pretty dark. But one thing I liked about these bronzers when they first came out is that it seemed like the whole range of colors, they were gearing more towards deeper skin tones, which I did appreciate. But this one is actually a nice performing bronzer. The reason I put it kind of low on my list though is really because of the scent of it. This one has like a very like strong like pina colada scent, and it doesn't linger too much when you put it on, but to me it is quite noticeable. And I just don't really like makeup and skincare that have scents to it, especially when they're either fruity or florally. Like that just really turns me off. So this one, I mean, it's a nice bronzer. I just never use it because of the scent of it. Like it really does smell like a pina colada. And I do feel like, even though again this one is the shade Light, like I can use this, but because I like bronzers to be kind of subtle on my face, I feel like I probably could even go up a shade in this, but I never bothered to buy the lighter shade because it smells really sweet to me. So that's why I put this one toward the bottom of the list. Now this next one I was kind of confused about because I feel like I just don't really have anything to say about this bronzer. This one is the Colored Rain Cinnabay bronzer. So these are kind of relatively new, like they only came out like a few months ago. This one is a pretty nice shade for me. Like it has like a nice reddish tone to it, but it's not too red, too brown, not too dark. It is a really nice shade. I don't know what it is though. Like I just never reach for this bronzer. Like there's really like nothing special about it. Like I don't know. Now that I've just swatched it, I feel like maybe I should keep it out and play around with it next time I do my makeup, but there's just nothing really special to say about this, unfortunately. So that's why I kind of put it, I mean, I feel like it's definitely better than the other bronzers that we already talked about, but I mean, I don't know, nothing really special to say about it. I'm gonna go back to this one really quickly and swatch it for y'all because I forgot to swatch it. So now I'm trying to remember because, okay, this one down here, this is the Makeup Revolution bronzer. This one is the Colored Rain one. This one on my hand looks kind of like a contour, and I don't remember it looking like that when I tried this out. I don't know. Maybe I have to go back and look at that video now because now I can't recall. This looks very much like a contour on my hand. But either way, like I said, I never used that Makeup Revolution one because of how it smells. But I just wanted to show y'all what the swatch of that one looked like. So this next bronzer, I was really excited about this when it came out. And I used to use this a lot, but you know, I've just come across like better things for my skin. But in terms of like the shade I'm talking about. But this one is the Too Faced Sun Bunny bronzer. And I'm sure y'all y'all are looking at this and y'all are thinking, why do you have this? Like, you can't even see it on your skin tone. So this shade over here, I never used to use that. Sometimes when I would pick up this bronzer, I would use this darker shade over here to bronze with, and just because I had this, I might have used some of this as eyeshadow, the lighter shade. This deeper shade here that I'm going to swatch for y'all, I'm not going to swatch the lighter one because I never used that as a bronzer, but this deeper shade, as you can see, I hope y'all can see that, it's very similar to my skin tone, but can you guys see like the sheen that it's giving off? What I used to love about this bronzer is that it's very like super subtle on my face. Let me see if I can build it up for y'all just a little bit. It's very subtle, but it actually does bronze because it has like these little like sheen, like gold sheen flecks, I guess, in it. And this bronzer does have kind of like a pinkish tone to it. So I usually go for things that run pink because my undertone is pink, so that's why I was really excited about this. And I think y'all can see like the sheen, like the glow that it's giving on my skin. It used to give me like a glow in certain areas, but not really help to like darken or like give my skin dimension in certain areas, but I just love like that very subtle glow that it gave. So I used to use this all the time when it came out. So next up is, I think this is actually the bronzer that I used the longest now that I think about it. This is the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, and this one is in the shade Endless Summer. I think Physicians Formula kind of recently added some deeper shades to this. When I say recently, maybe like within the last year or so, but again, this one is in the shade Endless Summer. If you've never tried one of these bronzers, one of the best things about them is they're called the butter bronzers, and they feel so soft and creamy and buttery. So like butter bronzer is like a really, really good name for these. So again, because I like subtle bronzers, that's why I used to use this one so much, in addition to the shade of it and just how it like blends into the skin. You can't really see it on my face, but you can build this up and it just gives like a really nice natural subtle glow. Let me see if I could build it up on my hand a little bit for y'all. So I think y'all can see how it gives like that just subtle glow up against my skin tone. I never bothered to try the deeper shade because it looked like it was a bit more golden than this one. And to me, this one has a little bit more of like a reddish pinkish hue to it. So I think, like I said, this is the bronzer that I've used the longest out of all of the ones that I have, even though it's not my favorite anymore, but like there was a long period of time where this was like my one and only bronzer. Okay, next up we have the LYS Beauty No Limits Matte Bronzer, and this one is in the shade Strengthen. So I really liked this the first time that I used it, but this is another one that I don't use very often because of the shade. It looks just a little too dark on me. I feel like I could have definitely gone up a shade, like a shade lighter. And when I went to go get the lighter shade, these products, their bronzers and their blushes were sold out for a really long time. And then eventually I just kind of forgot about it. But that is the shade there. What is this called again? This one is called Strengthen. So I feel like most people who are in my complexion range, they would probably like this shade of bronzer on them. But again, I like really subtle ones. So this one to me was just a little bit dark, and I feel like it's so pigmented that that's another reason why it was coming off kind of dark on me, because you have to apply just like a very little bit of it because it's just like super pigmented. But the shade of it is really nice, but I feel like I could have gone, you know, up a shade, but like I said, they were sold out all the time, so I was never able to try it. So the next bronzer that we're going to talk about, I feel like LYS and this next bronzer were kind of like neck and neck with each other. So this one is the Fenty Beauty Stalk'r bronzer in the shade Cocoa Naughty. So Cocoa Naughty is definitely a little more red compared to the LYS one, and I feel like outside of that there's really no difference between the two. So let me swatch this one for y'all. I'm going to swatch this one up against LYS because like I said, I feel like they were neck and neck in like how I ranked them. So this one on the bottom is LYS, And then this one on the top is Fenty Beauty. So I'm hoping that y'all can see on my hand here, but the Fenty Beauty one is just slightly, and I mean like ever so slightly more red than LYS. But other than that, I feel like they wear the same. I feel like they have the same consistency. I don't think either one of these are as creamy as some of the other bronzers that we're gonna go over, but I mean nothing wrong with how they wear or anything. It's just like, you know, some others that we're about to go over that I like a little bit better than those. Okay, we have 6 more bronzers to go through, and I really like all of these. Like, I feel like I need to start rotating through all of these more often because some of them I just don't wear them enough because they're all really good. So let's go to number 6, and this one is the Morphe Glamour Bronze in the shade Trailblazer. So this one is really like a perfect color bronzer for me. I'm sure y'all can see the warmth in the pan even before I swatch it. One thing I did forget to mention about the Makeup Revolution one, but I'm sure y'all saw it, is how much product you get. So same deal with the Morphe one. You get a whole lot of product. It's going to be it's going to take you a really long time to go through this. Another reason I like it outside of the color is just the formula of it. It's really creamy and it just blends out really nicely. So that is the shade Trailblazer. With this particular bronzer, when I bought it, I got it off of Ulta, and I didn't even realize that Ulta didn't have all of the shades. I feel like this one, this line of bronzers, they do come in another shade that I could probably also wear, but I never bothered to try it because I do really like this one. But they're they have a lot of shades. I think it comes in like 12 different shades. They have a few that or 2 that I think I could wear, but Trailblazer is a really good color for me. It's like a really nice amount of red in there, but also a nice amount of brown. So when I first got number 5, this was like my favorite for a hot minute. I really like it because it's versatile, but you know, it didn't make it into not even my top 3, but it is still a really good bronzer. This one is the Essence Sun Club Matte Bronzing Powder Palette. So one of the main reasons I like this is because you get a lot of different options in one palette. So this is good for me because I typically will bronze with something on my forehead and then on my cheeks, and then sometimes I like to pick up something a little bit lighter to bronze my nose, or I'll just use the same bronzer that I used everywhere else, but I just will try to apply just a little bit of it on the nose because I like a really subtle bronzer on the nose. So for this one, I'll usually do like maybe a combination of these 2 on the forehead and in the cheeks, and then maybe I might use just this color on my nose, or like sometimes I might mix these 2 colors, or sometimes I might mix up these 2. Like I'll just, you know, play around with it. But what I really like about it is because I like for my bronzer to be more noticeable in some areas than others, this one palette allows me to do all of my bronzing with just one product, if that makes sense. And on top of that, these are really pigmented. Now, one thing I will say about this, I like the formula. It's okay, but there are definitely some more like creamy formulas out there. Like even the ones that I've ranked lower than this one, some of them are just more creamy feeling, but this one is fine. Like there's nothing wrong with it. So this is the swatch of the last 2 shades, the 2 deepest shades in the palette. And like I said, these are the 2 that I usually like to mix and put them on my forehead and my cheeks. So that's why I put that one at number 5, because it is a very versatile bronzing palette. I don't think that it comes in like a lighter option. I think this is the only one, but if it does come in like a lighter option or a different color, I'll put up a picture on the screen, but I think this is the only one. But this is really nice. Okay, y'all, coming in at number 4, this is the Tower 28 Bronzino bronzer in Best Coast. So this is a cream bronzer, and I only did 4 cream bronzers today. I'd much rather prefer a powder bronzer. This one, I remember thinking when I first used it, I thought it was going to be too yellow and too golden, but this has like a really nice red, like reddish golden hue to it, and I just love it. You can really see the red when I swatch it. Like it has like a very like coppery shade to it. It's really pretty. And you might be thinking based on the swatch that it's going to be like overly pigmented when you put it on your face, but it's not. It just blends out really, really nicely. It looks really pretty on my skin tone, or maybe like a little darker. This would actually look really nice as an eyeshadow too, so maybe I'll play around with it that way. I feel like it should be safe to put on the eyes. Okay, y'all, now we are down to the last three, my top 3 bronzers. Number 3 is the Glowish by Huda Beauty Soft Radiance Bronzer. So I remember the first time I tried this out and I thought to myself, this is my new favorite bronzer, because I just loved how it blended out. I love the shade of it. When I first looked at it, I thought it was going to be like too red, but it's like just the right amount of red and brown. This one is in the shade 04 Deep Tan. And I just couldn't put this thing down when I first tried it. And again, remember y'all, I like a subtle bronzer. So if you like your bronzers like deeper than mine, you know, a lot of these do come in deeper colors, but that is just like the perfect bronzer for me. And this bronzer was meant to be a soft bronzer. It really wasn't meant to be like very noticeable anyway. And this one is just perfect. The color of it, the way it blends out very similar to the number 1 bronzer that I'm going to show y'all in a minute. But you can just like keep packing this bronzer on and it just won't cake up. It just like melts right into the skin. So that's why I put this one at number 3. So I will say the number 2 bronzer, I kind of went back and forth between Glowish and this one. This one is the Vesca Beauty bronzer, and it's the name of the shade is Kissed by Cabo. So I kept going back and forth between this one and the Huda one. I just couldn't decide which one I liked better. I kind of recently tried this for the first time in a video, and I kept going back and forth like, do I like it, do I not like it? And then I used it a couple more times after that, and every time I use it, I just like it more and more. So I will say between these two, they're neck and neck, and I feel like perhaps I put this one at number 2 just because it's newer and I'm just like more infatuated with it right now because it's something new, as opposed to this one I'm, you know, already kind of used to it. But this one, just like the Huda one, it is a very like almost like a pinkish tone bronzer, and I love this color because again, I love things that have kind of like a pinkish hue to it for my skin tone. And this one could be used as a blush also, but it also looks really nice on me as a bronzer. So that's it right here. It looks really, really pretty. You might be thinking it looks a little bit too red, but when I put it on my skin, I don't know, it's kind of like when it blends into your skin, like your skin tone just helps kind of like tone down the pinkish reddish hue a little bit. Like I can't explain it, but I just really, really like the way this looks on my skin. And just like with the Glowish bronzer, the formula of this is really nice and smooth. It's really creamy. This really feels almost like a cream bronzer that dries down to a matte finish, but it's not cream, it's definitely powder, but it just has like that really, really creamy feel to it. So that's why I put that one at number 2. But like I said, number 2 and number 3, they really were neck and neck. Okay guys, and coming in at number 1, it is the bronzer that I'm wearing today. Let me know in the comments right now what you think my number 1 bronzer is. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you should have guessed it by now, but my number 1 bronzer is the Charlotte Tilbury matte bronzer. This thing is just amazing. Yes, it's very expensive. It's $55, but it's worth every penny. And then you can also buy just the refillable pans for $39. So I am in the shade, oh, but I keep forgetting that my little sticker on the back is like completely worn off, but I'm pretty sure this one is in the shade 03. I'll put it up on the screen. This bronzer is just like, you just have to try it if you haven't tried it yet. The only downside about this bronzer is that it only comes in 4 shades. So they could definitely add some more shades to it, but there were a couple of other bronzers that I talked about where you can just keep applying them and it just like melts into your skin. This bronzer is actually like really difficult to go wrong with because it's like no matter how many layers of it you put on, it's just not going to cake up on your face. It's just going to keep blending into your skin. It's going to give you a lot of warmth. Now, even for me, liking a subtle warmth, This one I would consider one of my least subtle bronzers because it really does warm up the skin, but it doesn't look like you're overly bronzed. Like it really warms up the skin, but it still looks very natural at the same time. But the way that this blends into the skin is just like unbelievable. Like it really looks like second skin, and it just gives you like a smooth, like flawless finish on your face. And the shade of it, number 3, for me is like a really good shade. But like I said, it really, I mean, they really could add like a few more shades to this, but this one, I mean, like I said, it is up there in price, but it's really worth trying out if you haven't already. Okay guys, so those are all of my bronzers in my collection ranked from my least favorite to my favorite. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Also let me know what your least favorite and your favorite bronzers are, and I really hope that y'all enjoyed the video today. If you did, please let me know by giving me a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe before you head out, and I will see y'all back here for my next one. Until then, take care. Have a good one, y'all. Bye.